This episode of the Coarse podcast has been brought to you by Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, family-owned and operated screen printing and embroidery business located in a historic storefront on Old Berwick Road in the heart of Espy. They've been doing screen printing for over 20 years. They have high-quality product at a low price. Be sure to check them out. Central Sports and Graphics Incorporated, 570-784-1212. Now, on to the show.
This is Caitlin Steininger.
And I am Brian Young, and you are listening to the Coarse podcast with Shawn Rosler.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Another 50 in the books. Here we are. The 150. Sadly, with the fabric of society crumbling around us, calm down, it's just a pandemic, this 50th episode doesn't have a live event. But I am still host creator, and I am still right here with you, Shawn Rosler. As always, how is everyone doing tonight? The bad news stops there, that there's no live event. The bad news ends completely there. Even though I won't be able to shake hands and hug all of you in person, I think that tonight's episode will definitely still blow your mind. I can go on record as saying that this one is truly special as hell. I've watched her and her crew late night and laughed my ass off. So imagine my surprise when after a little deeper dive and some Instagram viewing, I find out that not only is tonight's guest an incredible fit for this show, with a culinary as well as digestive health background, well, I couldn't be more thrilled. So I'll try to stick to the script here. You see what I did there? I'll try. Oh. Speaking of try, tonight's guest, as the vast majority of you all would recognize her, is a standout rock star badass on the ever-increasingly entertaining Try channel over on YouTube. Fierce, funny, and clearly tolerant on the ETOH front, she is an absolute thrill to watch. What most of you might not know is that tonight's guest is also a postdoctoral researcher currently researching obesity and related metabolic disorders such as type 2 diabetes and fatty liver disease. Stop looking at me, Swan. She has a master's degree in immunology and a PhD in translational medicine and pharmacology, with obesity rates increasing to epidemic proportions. She understands that there's a lot of confusion even amongst the public on what the optimal diet for health is. Tonight's guest aims to inspire people to include healthy, fiber-rich ingredients to everyday cooking in a quick, budget-friendly, and easy manner with the scientific literature to back the health benefits. Smart, intense in the best way, and entertaining as hell. I can't help but be a little starstruck. Being dead honest here, people. Made even worse after seeing that she actually liked Gravity Falls. We gotta talk about that, but that's for another time. She's here to help us get more fiber, damn it. So enough of the fanboy shit. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, the deity of dietary fiber, and one of my all-time favorites on the Try channel, the Dr. Sarina Kajani. What is going on?
How do I even, respond to that? I literally had, a whole thing ready. I was like, do you know what? I'm going to start this off and be like, yeah, you took, my podcast virginity, and I literally am stunned. How do I even... I'm speechless. That was so kind. Thank you so much.
I mean every word of it, because listen, 150 had to be special, and I couldn't believe, this year has been, can we not agree, this year's been a bit of shite. Shite? Oh my god, I almost went to shite. You're influencing me already. It's been an absolute bomb. And when we connected, and after several evenings of watching and nearly dying laughing, you're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll do it. I was like, oh my god, this year doesn't suck anymore. Officially, as of December 2nd, it got better. So I can't believe that you're here. It means the world. Folks at home listening, if you haven't yet, you gotta get out to the Try channel. You gotta check their shit out. It is honestly to die for. But there's so much more to the Sarina Kajani that I came to know via YouTube, via the Try channel, via stupid eating and drinking challenges, which are awesome, by the way. But there's so much more, and I cannot wait to dive into it. Before I do, folks who are new listeners to the program, folks with terrible short-term memories, like yours truly, starters, mains, and afters. Again, a little different. You know, we don't have a restaurateur, owner, or anything like that tonight, but I think the question still holds. Starters, we're going to talk about where the guest has come from, what brought them to us, what brought them to present day and being interested in food, whether it be the scientific elements or not. Mains, we're going to talk about where they're at, what they're doing, what makes them tick. And finally, afters, a little bit more irreverent on the question front, a little more off the cuff, but no one has been severely injured in 149 episodes, so I don't see it happening tonight, hopefully. So without further ado, Dr. Sarina Kajani, talk to me about where and what you grew up eating.
So my heritage, I grew up in Dublin, Ireland. I was born and raised there, but my heritage is Indian and Pakistani. So both my parents are immigrants, and I predominantly grew up with Indian and Pakistani food. Like, one of my fondest memories as a child is my mom would get, like, because obviously Indian food is like heavily spiced and stuff, she would mix the curry that my dad and her would be eating with yogurt and mush it up into rice and get like little pieces of potato and meat and just make it into this, like, I don't know, pseudo like savory porridge stuff and feed us with her hands. And it's a very like intimate, very like safe, very, I don't know, comforting way of feeding a child. And it's like, honestly, like just you asking me what I was raised with, it just, that's the memory that floods straight back. So yeah, predominantly Indian food.
And it's so interesting that you found food as a calling to health and taking care of people. I mean, right away, one question in, I can go, there's a tie between. There's a bunch more questions. I don't want to call it there, but holy shit, like we just made a connection there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Beyond the Indian Pakistani, influence and the native foods that you ate, what kind of eater were you? Did you adventure out of that realm, or were you pretty much in that bubble?
So, like, what's really interesting is being first generation Irish and being in a predominantly white neighborhood. My food that was coming from my house was always adventurous. So when I had like Irish food, it was just like, oh, this isn't very interesting. It's just food. Like, I go to my friend's house and we have like chicken nuggets and chips or French fries, or like you have shepherd's pie, which is obviously delicious, but it was never in comparison to how like flavorful and like spiced the food that I got at home was. And so I think it was a lot easier for me to transition to eating like different types of food. Like, I was never shy about trying different things. But on the flip side of that, I was always hungry. So I constantly was eating, and like, it was constant. It was always, I just want my next meal. When's my next snack coming? When's dinner? And then when's second dinner? And my mom was just like, you need to stop eating.
Yeah, I don't know. Are we raising a hobbit? I think that question might have gotten lobbed across the bow there. That's so cool to hear, and such a reverse, because, you know, admittedly, a lot of the guests on the show, you know, are of definitely a pretty much like white Anglo-Saxon background, and pretty much like, oh, we had meat and potatoes. A couple guests that like jumped to mind, to David Fu, he was from Vietnam, and so obviously growing up, you know, here in America, it was different. And Eric Ajapong, who was also from Top Chef, he was from Africa. He brought African cuisine into the spotlight, and it was like so cool to see that, like, here we are with our somewhat pretentious stick up our ass, deemed like haute cuisine, French cuisine, and yet there's all these elements that are so much more adventurous, so much more just savagely beautiful and rich and deep in their flavors. So that's cool to hear that you were bored. Now, I do understand, I don't want to jump too far ahead, but, you know, Ireland is kind of coming back on the culinary scene a little more. They're getting a little more adventurous in some of their high-end restaurants. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So I always feel like a bit of like a fraud talking about like food, because I obviously grow food and I have a love for food, but I'm not the culinary person in my family. It's my sister. She went to college, studying culinary arts. She's a pastry chef. She's worked in cafes like owned by Ottolenghi and in the Four Seasons, and she's the person that should be on this. And so like I feel bad, but also at the same time I'm like a massive foodie. The scene in Dublin, and that's where I'm from, so that's what I know most about. Sure. But it is definitely increasing the amount of culture in terms of the food varieties that you can get, and the quality of food I think is also really important, because like the produce that we make and the cows that we produce in Ireland, like they're second to none. It's one of the best beef you can get. And in terms of like dairy products like milks, cheeses, yogurts, it's like it's so upper end and upscale that like if you're trying to put any sort of cuisine with those really fresh, really good ingredients, you're onto a fucking winner. Like, sorry, can I swear on this?
Yeah, you absolutely fucking can. Go nuts. Yeah, totally. And you know, it's so funny you just said that about the Irish cows and the Irish milk. Like we have Kerrygold butter in the fridge, and you don't,
and you
like,
pay through the teeth for it,
and
but it's available.
You get what you pay for. You buy that bullshit in the plastic tub, it's going to taste like bullshit in a plastic tub. Let's be fair. You know, you pay the upcharge and you get it. You know, do you want the Kobe beef or do you want the, you know, ground 75-25? Well, you know what? If I'm slumming around and it's 2 a.m. after a bar scene, yes, I want the 75-25. But most other times, I want the high end. So that's awesome. Let's to shift back a bit to just you and focus on you, and you totally deserve to be here, by the way. I'm going to validate you in that. You know, that scene that you painted, and again, you know, this is why I'm, you know, casually as a passion project in food media, because that scene that you painted was so beautiful about the rice and the yogurt and the curry and the potato. Like, what a beautiful, loving, caring thing. I wonder, are there other childhood foods that you look back to and go, oh God, you know, my heart hurts for this?
I suppose this is like an Indian thing, but my mom used to make this dessert, and it's butter, semolina, and sugar. And you just make it up in a pot, and you put a bit of cardamom in it, and you essentially just cook the semolina in this butter, and it absorbs it, and it becomes this like sweet, fragrant paste almost. And that is like happiness in a bowl for me. Like, it's just, and my mom just, I don't know, my mom has the hand, do you know what I mean? Like, as in, whatever she touches, she can make something phenomenal. Absolutely
the hand. I mean, that's I think, you know, a lot of us, I think of our moms, you know, like that. I don't. My mom was an absolute abomination in the kitchen. I love her to death, but I've told her, I'm like, I swear to God, I don't know where I came from. I don't know if it was from you. I had her on for Mother's Day once, and she got a couple jabs in, so it's fair. But no, I totally feel what you're saying, and I love, you know, that simplicity. Like, you know, you and I are at a place in our lives where, like, yeah, we can go out, we can eat wherever we want. Not now, thanks COVID. But essentially, you get where I'm going, and yet it's those things that bring us back, right?
Oh, absolutely. Totally. Like the simplest of things, and. Yeah, totally.
So, you know, growing up, you know, you tossed the baton to your sister saying that, you know, she's a culinary skill. And yet here you are, you know, in food. It's what you're doing. I have to ask, who was the culinary influence, the greatest one for you growing up? Was there one?
Like in terms of like someone that's famous or?
No, just somebody that made you want to cook, maybe made you want to be in the kitchen.
First and foremost, it was always my dad. It's like, I don't know, food is such an integral part of like Indian culture. It's how you show love. It's how you look after people. It's how I show love. If I cook for you, I'm showing you that I love you. That's just the end of it. And so when I was growing up, Dad, it's a typical like rags to riches. He was an immigrant, didn't have anything coming to Ireland. And he went into a number of different jobs, and one of them was being a chef in a restaurant that he owned. And it was an Indian restaurant on one of the main streets in Dublin. And so he was always in the kitchen when I was growing up. And I was like, I'm a massive daddy's girl. Like, me and my dad get on like like a house on fire. And so whenever he was cooking, I'd be there standing up like on a chair trying to help him and stuff. And then I remember, I think I was 12 when I made my first tikka masala, and my parents were like, it's Gora, but it'll do, meaning it's white tikka masala, but she tried. So
yeah, right on. That's so awesome. And I just want to let you know, I can guarantee you, fans of the Tri Channel, fans of you, Sarina, are going to isolate that clip of you saying, I love you, after If I Cook For You, and they're going to make it their ringtone. I have a feeling that's going to happen, and it's going to be awkward, but we'll just go with it. So you have this incredibly rich, upbringing in a very like food centric, like we had this wonderful Indian restaurant. I'm from like a little like podunk town in central Pennsylvania. But when I was in college, we had an Indian restaurant. Sakuntala was the name of it. It was down on Iron Street, I think. Iron Street. That doesn't matter. I can remember, though, being in there, and before, I was ever doing a food podcast or anything like that, like talking to the owners about like the food, about where it came from, about what it meant. And it wasn't the quick get in, get out, get over kind of talk. Like, I remember that striking me so strongly. So you have this wonderful cultural backdrop along with great culinary influences, sounds like. When was the moment you realized food was more than just like insert into point A, digest and exit point B? When was it you realized it was more, that it was more than just a task to eat?
So I suppose I should premise this with, I used to be very chubby as an adolescent and an early adult. And as a result of that, I suffer from like pretty bad body dysmorphia. But as an adolescent and an early adult, it was always like trying to lose weight and trying to like maintain a certain physique, and obviously being influenced by magazines and Instagram and everything else. So I always had this kind of, I suppose, like a weird relationship with food. Like it was always like a binge restrict kind of thing. But I because I was like so interested in like science and like nutrition, I think the like penny drop moment for me was probably towards the end of college. The end of college when I was starting my master's, where I dropped a lot of weight. So I was probably around like 24, 25 at the time. And I ended up losing about 70 pounds, and got really into like ketoing and protein. And I'm sure everyone's familiar with like, we live in an environment where everyone wants to get as much protein, but pretty much all of America is getting their protein needs. But only 3% of Americans are getting their fiber needs. And it was around then that I just got really interested in food and metabolism and obesity. And I was definitely in a space where I was like, well, if I can lose the weight, surely someone else can too. And it's all willpower, and it's all like, you just have to do the work. And since reading the literature, I've moved away from that and being like, there's a lot more to this story, and we can't be dogmatic in telling people this is the way to do it or this is the way to eat healthy, because there isn't one hard and fast rule. No,
and that's wow. I mean, first of all, thank you for sharing that. I think that there's probably a lot of listeners out there who are experiencing that, or who may have experienced that, who can definitely relate. So thank you for sharing that. But what a cool way then to take your personal growth and transition it over to others. And, knowledge is a gift, and we can't
absolutely
just keep it to ourselves. And so this then vaults you forward. Watch how we transition here, kids, from starters into mains. This vaults you forward then into this wonderful present day scenario where you're looking at, now I have to literally read this word for word because I can't recall it because it's so complicated, because she's so brilliant. Immunology, that's fine, but PhD in translational medicine and pharmacology, but looking at things like metabolic disorders such as type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease. How do the two play hand in hand? And then the follow-up to that is, how does food play into that? Now, obviously, I think we know like one version of a point A to point B, but I'm sure there's much more to it. So I'll leave you to it.
Okay, so to answer the first question, as in terms of how does type 2 diabetes and fatty liver disease manifest as a result of our food choices?
Sure. Yep.
So my personal belief is I need to premise this whole thing by looking at the fact that we are 200,000 years of evolutionary bioengineering. And what I mean by that is that as humans, we have survived 200,000 years based on what the land gave us. So we foraged for wild fruit, berries, vegetables, all this sort of stuff. And that's great. And we survived, and our human condition is built off of that. So with that information in hand, when you get to, say, the start of the 20th century, and we have the Industrial Revolution, people are coming back from famine and war, and starvation was a real thing. And so we decided that because we have increasing technology advancements, we need to be able to make food quickly and fast, so that we don't have to suffer from famine or starvation for our populations. And so then increases farming and agriculture, and we've gotten to a stage now where we're in an environment where food is energy rich. So there's a lot of energy in it, but it's nutrient deplete, meaning they're not getting any sort of nutritional value from it. And as a result of that, and like people can contest this, but my personal viewpoint is humans want to do better by other humans, and we can turn around and look retrospectively and say, oh, this was big dairy and this was big big agriculture, but like at the end of the day, for the context of that time, people were trying to do the best they could. And now we're in a situation where we're shot ourselves in the foot. And so now we're dealing with diseases that are associated with overnutrition, such as type 2 diabetes and fatty liver disease.
So can you just real quick define overnutrition for the folks at home?
So overnutrition in my mind would be eating excess caloric foods and excess calories that have no nutritional value, and you are not able to expend that additional energy.
Mm-hmm. All right, so you're explaining pretty much every weekend night for me. Thanks for that. With that in mind, so I think we understand how one gets to the other. How can the one help undo the ill effects? How does diet then change? Maybe turn back the clock. I don't know if reverse would be the right word. How can we use diet to battle?
I believe you can reverse it.
Well, you'd be the one to answer that, not me. So I'm going to back up and let you go.
I feel like there's probably like a controversial statement, especially as a scientist, because people are going to be like, no, she's fucking wrong. And I'm going to be like, okay, come on, just relax.
Yeah. Well, if you think scientists are listening to the show, you haven't met my listeners. I love you all, by the way, but go on.
I do. So the great thing about the human body is that it is highly resilient. The fact that people within any sort of westernized state that suffers from these comorbidities of obesity, such as type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disease, still live until they're 60, 70, or 80, whether they're on medication or not. But like that just shows how willing the body is to stay alive. And so if you've gotten to a stage where you're 30, 40, 50 years old and you're like, I'm too far gone, there's no point in starting that, I would beg you to reconsider that thought process, because if you start now, you can still maybe not get to the stage where like your body would be when it was 30, but you can still reverse and slow down the impact that these diseases have on your body, because these are things that like skulk you in slow motion. Like they stalk you in slow motion. I mean, and it's not like, oh, I woke up the next morning and suddenly I have type 2 diabetes, or suddenly I'm obese. It's taken a long time to get to that point, but you can still reverse it or slow it down so that you're not suffering towards the end, if that makes sense.
No, it makes absolute total sense. I mean, all kidding aside, I'll pull the curtain back a little bit. You know, I'm a 43-year-old father of 3 who just happens to be like a gym devotee. I subscribe, I'm not sure which, to intermittent fasting. I listen to my body, what it needs, what it wants, instead of, I focus more on the protein, but I also do focus on the fiber, to your point, ma'am. I do. I just got off my wife and I were joking. This is a joke. You and I will get, nobody else will get it. But I was on a 20-hour fast today, and the first thing back was a salad, and it was like, that was a strong move. That was a lot of fiber on an empty stomach. That's all I'm going to say. So with all that said, and that's so cool to hear, because I know You know, I don't know it personally, but I'm sure you can feel like it's helpless. Like, Dr. Kajani is here to say, like, hey, look, you can turn back that clock. It's okay. And I think one of the biggest worries for folks turning to food, I mean, basically as medicine, to a degree, food is medicine. And I have a special needs youngest son. He has autism, and we just eliminated gluten and dairy, and we've instantly noticed an uptake in ability to focus, like out of nowhere. So anyway, more on that later. But, you know, so looking at food as medicine, I think the big fear for a lot of folks who are at risk or who are currently in risk is that, well, it tastes like shit. Let's just break it down to brass tacks right there. It's awful. Health food tastes like garbage. How do you do it? How do you find the time? And this is where I cannot believe the incredible luck I have finding out you have a Patreon with all your recipes that are incredibly fiber rich. Can you talk a little bit about how we medicate these issues with food and make them not taste terrible?
So I completely agree. I think like the previous notions of what healthy eating was that, oh, you have to eat a salad, or it's like bland soup or whatever. I think the main, and like given the society that we live in, it's fast food, it's fast cars, it's fast everything, you know, and I think we need to get out of the headspace of, first off, you're not a machine. You are a human being that has feelings and emotions and has to deal with everyday life as well as the struggles of work and family and everything else. People don't have time to cook, and I appreciate that. But if you don't make time, and this is not me being mean or trying to chastise anyone, but if you don't make time to put the effort into the food that you eat 3 times a day over the course of your lifetime, you are going to have medical bills later. And even if that means just having one meal a day that you've made yourself, will reap the benefits. And like, that's the thing. I don't want to be like puritanical about it, because people are busy. People have their lives. But like, if you make one habitual change, like, oh, I'm going to have dinner with my family twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and that's it. Once you make that a habit, everything else can grow from that. Sorry, that was a little bit of a tangent.
No. I appreciate it. Honestly, coming from two, even though we're working from home, we have been, you know, that is even a struggle to put asses in seats and enjoy the meal together. And one that is cooked. So anyway, totally, I get that it was tangential, but not completely. So I'll get out of your way.
And then, so I suppose, like, in terms of the Patreon and the fiber recipes, because I have such an avid interest in nutrition and how fiber impacts your health, and I've always felt this about me in my scientific career, is what use is me learning all of this if I can't share it with the public? And I know scientists have a reputation for being stuffy, and they're a bit awkward and socially a bit not like off kilter, but I'm not one of those scientists, to the point where people are like, how do you have a PhD? And I'm like, I don't really know either.
I'm not gonna lie, I have to go on record, I'll admit this on air. When I found out, I literally sat back in my chair and went, no shit. Wow, really? Like, really? She just did that on Try, and what? But it's so cool. It's so cool, though, because, like, I love when people have that air about them where, like, maybe their profession doesn't fit their persona. I think that's the greatest thing ever. So anyway, your Patreon with the fiber recipes, take this food as medicine concept, elevate it to a beautiful, healthy and flavorful level. Is that the case?
Yeah, so what I'm trying to do with the Patreon is basically try and incorporate, so it's not just fiber, so I think it's very easy to get lost in translation that, oh, if I eat 39 grams of fiber, which is the recommended amount for men, then I'm fine, so I can just load up on psyllium or Metamucil. That's not actually the case. What the science is saying now is that the more plant diversity that you have, the better diversity of your microbiome, which then can lead to health benefits. And plant diversity, or the number of plants that you eat, will increase the amount of fiber that you take in. And so what I try to do with the Patreon is I try to mix in as many plants, legumes, vegetables, seeds, nuts and whatever into these recipes that hopefully aren't too difficult, or the ingredients aren't too hard to source, and try to make the meals 30 minutes or less. I predominantly do a lot of sweet things because I know people are going to be like, I don't want to eat this fiber thing. It tastes like cardboard. And I appreciate that, because it probably does taste like cardboard, because who enjoys bran flakes? I do secretly, but like, that's neither here nor there. But, you know, you cannot tell someone, you need to start eating this way, even though you've been eating that way for the whole of your life. It's just not going to happen. Right. So we need to ease them into it. And when they realize, I actually like the taste of these seeds, I might put them on a salad the next time I'm making whatever, you know, and it's introducing them to different concepts and different things that you can have as alternatives. Like, one of the things I make is raspberry chia jam. So instead of getting a jar of jam from the store or jelly, which is full of preservatives, full of additives. Don't even get me started on those things and how bad they are for your microbiome. But you literally mix fresh raspberries and chia seeds and you have a jam. And literally it is so fiber rich. It's so nutrient dense. There's antioxidants. And it's not even, it doesn't even feel like that much of a stretch away from jam.
That's incredible. Like, my instant impulse was to ask you, do you cook it down at all? Or do you just blend? Or how do you work with that?
So depending on how much time I have. So if I don't have time and I need the chia jam pretty much immediately, I will literally just crush the raspberries with a fork, put the chia seeds in and leave them for about 10-15 minutes. If I have frozen raspberries, I'll blitz them in the microwave for a minute or two, smash them down with a fork, add the chia seeds and wait for the seeds to absorb the juices. Yeah,
because if I recall correctly, I have some experience with chia, and it almost is like like an emulsifier, like a thickener. Is that true?
Yeah, it's got a very like gelatinous sort of eggy feel to it. But when the seeds actually become like engorged or whatever, the seeds still remain, so you still have that kind of like crunch at the end of it. Yeah,
that's incredible. That's incredible. So one of the things, my wife is a brilliant woman. I love her to death. Obviously, 3 kids and we're still together, so obviously there's love there.
Lovely.
And so sweet. Like, I have to tell people listening at home, like, if you see Sarina on the Try channel and she's either hammered or like has fire in her mouth, she was so sweet to text back after I texted her a picture of my youngest reading a book. Like, she's honestly the sweetest human being ever. Let's be honest. But my wife, who is also sweet, when she's been making salads recently, and she is very interested in nutrition, and she added pepitas to my salad as just a simple add, and I really didn't even notice, but I like the crunch and everything. Pepitas, holy shit, I read the label, I'm like, wait a minute, I got all that? And then she added hemp seed in it. So, like, it seems to me, and I want to know what you think, like, there are some pretty easy adds to be had in this field.
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
It doesn't, to your point, like, you don't have to flip the switch overnight. It's not going to happen. You've eaten this way for years. You're not going to change. What are like your top 3, top 5, I don't know, like value adds when it comes to nutritive food as medicine approach?
First off, I would think berries. I don't know, like, I know they're a bit expensive in stores and stuff, but like having them on hand as a snack rather than like, I don't know, like a chocolate bar or something. And I know like that's the really obvious one, but like honestly, if you eat a whole thing of blueberries, you're not going to want anything after that because you're pretty full afterwards.
No, fair, yeah. Okay.
My other thing is like raspberry and chia seeds. Like they're so, for what you're getting in terms of calories, and how nutrient dense they are. Like they top trumps all the time. Yeah. Also, I don't know, I always like in terms of like a sweet tooth, dark chocolate is actually high in fiber and high in antioxidants. So for like a 70-gram bar of chocolate that's like 70% cocoa, you get about 4 grams of fiber, which is great. Yeah. So I always like kind of go to that, like between the raspberry and the dark chocolate, and then throwing them on some oats. I'm like happy out. Yeah. What else? You know what is always a savior for me, and I always find it's like, because I love volume of food, I don't want to have little bits, I just want a big meal. Yeah. The coleslaw packs that you get in supermarkets. So it's just like shredded up coleslaw and onions or whatever, or carrots, and like I will fry that with like some mustard seeds and a little bit of turmeric, and like that's a substantial volume of food and fiber included in it, but without having as many calories. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I actually just made egg rolls this past weekend with that very coleslaw, pack of salad, toss that in the pan, fry it off and everything. Mind you, the oil and everything else probably didn't help us that much, but I was kind of there with you, Sarina. I was kind of there with you.
I think that when it comes to talking about oils and like all these like things that like are bad for you, if they're taken in moderation, they are absolutely not bad for you.
That's fair. I feel better about myself, albeit just a smidge. Because I know how much oil and how much beer I drank that night. So anyway, moving on. Fatty liver disease. So yeah, man, quick fixes really seem, I don't want to say quick fixes, quick ads really seem to be kind of the gateway, because once you get in there, once you realize, it's not this crazy, I'm going to be eating granola, hugging trees, and wearing Birkenstocks in the woods. Like, no, there's a pretty, like, reasonable path to using food for health. And so with that in mind, then, I'm going to ask you, what has been your greatest creation where you've taken a dish and instilled the elements that you're so passionate about, be it, fiber and just maintaining an overall healthful view of things?
I think one of the things that I was really impressed by myself, and this is definitely tooting my own horn, but for Thanksgiving week, I was like, I'm going to make 7 different recipes so that people can try and incorporate them in time for their Thanksgiving meal.
I saw them. I loved them. I actually answered your one question. What was a dish you wanted to see fiber incorporated into? And I think I said stuffing, did I? I don't know.
Yeah, it was the stuffing.
Yes. I felt good about that.
Honestly, like, I honestly, like, I was just so surprised at myself. I was like, this is a game changer. And it's made with mushrooms, walnuts, sage, butter, onions, and just 2 slices of, like, whole grain bread or whatever bread you have lying around, that are blitzed in the food processor and thrown in. And I, like, honestly, I was just like, what, like, how can I ever go back to normal stuffing, because this is so, like, it's so crunchy, there's so much flavor to it, there's like minimal amount of ingredients, and it's filled with so many nutrients. Like the mushrooms in themselves, like, they give the protein, the walnuts are full of omega-3 fatty acids and the fiber, the sage, and within that you have the walnuts, the mushrooms, the onion, the sage, garlic. So that's 5 different plants within that one dish.
And that's that biodiversity you talked about before, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Nailed
so,
it.
like,
nice.
Yeah, well done. I'm proud of you.
Gold star for the host. No, that's incredible. And, it's funny you say that. For years, we've done 2 types of stuffing, because you've got my dad, 6'7" Navy chief, meat and potatoes guy. And then you've got my mom, who was into health food stores before they were cool. This is when I was growing up. I told you I'm 43. You can imagine how long ago that was. And so, like, we would make...
delighted with the environment right now, then.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. And we designed two types of stuffing every time we were together. And the one was literally the white bread cubed, turkey juice and, bullshit, maybe some parsley. And literally that was it. My mom's that we made for her had dried apricots, pecans. I want to say it was cornbread cubes, but it might have been potato bread cubes, something like that. And, celery, onion, shallot, all this good mix. And honestly, like, if you're looking for flavor, I think there's where you can actually turn that corner and say, no, the blandness is with the regular old non-fiber infused, non-nutrient infused nonsense. So that's incredible.
So you definitely preferred your mom's stuffing?
I'll never say that to her. And I know she doesn't listen because she can barely type. So I'm in a good place. I'm safe. That's incredible. And I mean, honestly, what you've done with such a life journey is incredible. And, I'm so glad to hear it literally from like point A to point B all the way to point Z or Z, as you might say, over there. See what I did there? That's relating to the guest, folks. Well, what's next for you? You have the Patreon, you're on the Try channel, and I want to ask you a couple questions, but I didn't want to self-indulge everybody right up front because, the Try channel. Like, no, you have such a cool story. I want to tell that shit. And if we get there, that's great. And if not, whatever. What do the next 5 years look like for you?
You know, my boss asked me this today, and I was like, I don't know, maybe in a crackdown or something. Apparently, you're not supposed to say that to your boss.
Yeah, that's not advisable.
Oh, geez, I don't know. Do you know what? Like, honestly, I love science, but I love science communication more, and I love the food aspect of what I do. So I think in the ideal situation, I would have my own cooking show with a fiber, like a science spin on it, explaining why it is that we need these foods in your kitchen and why they're important for your diet, and not having the bullshit of like, oh, I just found this in like a Cosmopolitan magazine, but I don't really know what it means. Actually having the scientific data there, like just laying it out, because people are confused. There's too much information out there, and we need legit people that can stand up on a podium and say, this is what the scientific literature says, without trying to be biased or like looking at the meta-analysis, not to get too scientific about it. But yeah, like that's my dream, just to be a host for this like cooking show. But in reality, I probably will still be a scientist trying to cook things on Instagram.
I don't know. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say, given who you are and how you come across and how perfectly you come across, I think you're in a pretty good position there, ma'am, to make that happen. So we all will be watching. So I have to ask the question now, and this was actually sent in because I let a couple listeners know who I was having on, and they were like, holy shit, oh my god, the Tri Channel, they got food. I'm like, yeah, calm down, it's cool. Like, she's really cool. They all want to know, how the hell did you end up in the Tri Channel? Now, I saw one thing, and I want to ask this, and then I want to let you go with the story. 2014, sure. You got a stand-up comedy award, I believe? Yeah. What happened there? What exactly happened there, scientist, dietary fiber person who just happens to have stand-up comedy?
So when I started college, it's funny because you either had a happy childhood or you're funny, and I'm obviously hilarious.
That's why people laugh at me. Don't worry about it. We're in good company.
And so when I started college, I wanted to do stand-up comedy, and so I'm very into my family, but my brother was always funnier than I was, and he was like, oh yeah, sure, I'm going to do stand-up comedy as well, and I was like, no, I want to do it too. So we had this like tag team type of thing where we would like take each other's jokes, but it was mainly me taking his jokes. Nice. And some of them didn't really work because they were more like male orientated, and I would say them, people would be like, wait, what?
Yeah, you can't really run with the dick joke. I'm thinking, but you know, whatever. It is what it is.
But anyway, so did the stand-up comedy, and I'm too loud for being in a science degree. I'm too social. I'm an extrovert. I like the spotlight. I'm not going to lie. Like, I just love being in the limelight, people watching me. I want to make people laugh, and if I can do that, I will. And so went into stand-up comedy, and that's how I got into Tri Channel, because one of my friends, Ryan Cullen, who did stand-up comedy with me at the time, and he's also a Tri contributor. He was doing stuff on the Tri Channel, and I was like, here, get me in on that, will you? And he was like, okay. Because not many people know this about me, but I'm quite threatening as a human.
I'm not gonna lie, I can kind of pick up on that. You know, there's definitely there's commanding presences. Although I will say, honestly, if we're going octagon 3-round fight, I'd love to see you and Kiara, because I think that would be like
Kiara Darty.
Yes.
She would die.
I don't know, man. She's got a weird, I've never seen her defeated on that show. Like, I'm like, of course I've never seen you defeated, so I don't know.
She would be feline in her movements, but like, it's going to be a KO. Sorry.
Oh my god, I'm not gonna love you. Alright, holy shit. Alright, fine. Yeah, I would totally, I was actually kind of trying to be nice there and not pander too much to the guest, but yes, of course you would. Like, literally, it would be, what was the quickest knockout in the UFC? I think it's 7 or 8 seconds. I think you'd beat that. So, anyway. That's phenomenal. And so that brought you to there, and that brought you to, again, folks tuning in because you know Sarina from the Tri Channel, like, there you go. There's the backstory that you wanted so badly.
That's how it happened.
I was going to embed it in, honestly, because I'm like, look, I don't want to be the guy who's like, oh, hey, tell me about the Tri-Channel, and science is cool. Like, no, that's not going to happen. Ever.
No, like, as in, for all it's worth, the reason that I have this infamy in inverted commas, because I don't think I'm very famous. I know I am kind of famous, but not really famous. But it's all because of the Tri-Channel. I wouldn't have the platform that I do have if it wasn't for those initial fans, and then it just gained momentum, and now my brand is like coming through. But like, I owe it all to the Tri-Channel, absolutely.
Well, your brand is cool as shit and strong as hell, and I honestly, that food science education program, I think there's legs under that, and I think you and I need to talk off air, because I have some I have some ideas like already, but I'm sure you have them too, so I don't want to.
Yeah, no, I'd be delighted. Like, as in, the more collaboration, the better. For
sure. So, there's the next 5 years. So let's transition. We've done starters, we've done mains. Let's do afters, because this is where I'm really interested in getting to pick apart a little bit more of Sarina Kajani and understand just who she is. Now, if you and I were standing in your kitchen and we were cooking together, what music would I be listening to if you picked the music?
Probably. Oh, what time of day is it?
Let's say we're doing dinner. Let's say it's 5p, 6p, somewhere in there.
It would probably be some EDM or something.
Nice. Oh my god. Our good friend Mark, who is known to the boys by Uncle Mark, like literally will blare "It's time to go if you don't like techno." Like whenever he gets the chance. He is the biggest EDM head ever, and he just turned 40. So happy birthday, buddy.
Happy birthday, pal.
He's honestly, we went to see Getta back, how long ago was it? We had one kid at the time, I think. And it was literally like the show started at 7 and Getta didn't come out till like 2:30 in the morning. And I'm like,
oh, amazing.
I passed out and I came back to life for the remainder of his set. So it was remarkable. So EDM, big fan, like that. That's awesome. Let me ask you the stranded deserted island question, and I'm going to give it to you in 2 flavors today because I'm interested to know. First off, if we stranded you on a deserted island and you could only bring 3 foods or food type items with you, inexhaustible supply, what would they be and why?
Okay, does a vegetable medley count?
We can do that. Yeah, we can do that. Are we talking about like a freezer-ass pack of like blended veg?
Yeah, just a mix of veg. Okay, so like that's giving me my diversity of plants. Then I probably would go for something like lasagna, because I fucking love lasagna.
Nice.
And then I need something sweet, and I think something sweet would probably be pecan pie or sticky toffee pudding.
Oh my god.
So like, I know I'm like the fiber queen and like I'm advocating health and stuff, but I'm also only human and I like shit food too. So.
Sticky toffee pudding, there's a brewery here in the States, Wells Brewing I think it is, and they do a sticky toffee pudding beer.
Shut up. No, they don't.
It is satanic. It is ridiculous. You've never had anything like it.
Don't tell me that. I'm going to have to go to the bottle shop now and find it.
Here's the thing. I don't know that they make it anymore, but I think I have 1 or 2 bottles in storage because I keep, this is like pulling back the curtain even further. I have a beer cellar and I keep a bunch of like mixed up beers.
Oh, amazing.
I'm going to look for that as soon as we wrap. And yeah, I'm going to make that happen for you, but they might still make it. I'll look into that for you. But sticky toffee pudding, pecan pie, lasagna, mixed vegetables. Fantastic. How are you not living? Now, I'm going to ask you a follow-up like only I could ask you a follow-up. On that island, you have to take 3 of your other tri-colleagues with you to survive. Who would they be and why?
Oh, a Bloin.
Yes.
Just because I love her so much and like we're very close friends.
How do you not?
She's just the best.
She's amazing. That's by the way for the English readers at home. It reads like Blythin, I believe. just in case. I understand it because I listen. This is how much I've listened to the Tri-Channel. So I got it. All right. So Blyden.
And then it would have to be Foxy George or George Fox, because I used to actually do comedy with him, and I used to always call him Foxy George.
Oh, no way!
Because George is honestly one of the funniest people I've ever met in my life, and like I hate doing shoots with him because he's making all these jokes, and I'm just pissing myself laughing. I'm like, I need to come up with something funny, and now I'm not, so I'm just going to be the eye candy.
The timer's running. Cool. All right, so that's 2. What's 3?
This is going to be tough. Like, Justine Stafford.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, she's just, she's one of those people that she exudes warmth, even though you don't know her. Do you know what I mean?
No, I totally do. I believe she is the patron saint of cans. Is that true?
Yeah, absolutely.
This is how much I've watched the kids. Pay attention. Tri-Channel on YouTube. Check it out. That's awesome. Cool. So, Blind, Foxy George, and Justine. That's incredible. Yeah. I'll ask you a question that a lot of people in the restaurant biz will play a late night game with, and it involves your Last Supper. Melanie Danea did a wonderful, wonderful coffee table book of chef photographs. One beautiful designer, brilliant photo of each chef with the same questions, and they all revolve around, if your ticket's getting punched tomorrow, what is your last meal today? What do you eat? What do you drink? Who's there? Talk to me.
Wow, it's a real, deep, I don't know why, but I really felt that. So
I bring it back tomorrow. Heavy. I don't play. Yeah. 150 episodes. Come on.
So given the fact that food is such an integral part of who I am and how I host and how I bring people into my service, my big thing is bringing people together through this love of food. I will always host a spread, and so if it's going to be the last day, it's going to be obviously my family, my mom, my dad, and my 4 siblings, my closest friends from home, and my friends from America. I want a big party. I love a big party. That's me.
Nice.
And the food would actually, do you know what? It would just be my birthday party all over again. Sorry, I'm actually imagining this. And my birthday party every year is hosted in my mom's back garden. And we have burgers, we have cheese boards, we have Indian fucking biryani going on plates, and people sweating because they're like, it's too spicy, but man, it tastes delicious. And there's cocktails going, there's red wine, there's these shots that we do at home called Baby Guinness, which is like a short of Kahlua and a Bailey's head, and so it looks like a Baby Guinness.
What is that? Yeah. Where has that been in my life? Oh my god.
It doesn't even taste like a shot. It's so pleasant to drink.
Oh my god, you've just signed my death warrant. Apparently with the answer to your death warrant. So there you go, that works. That's incredible. Holy shit. Yeah, it would just have to be a big fuck-off party because Serena's not going down quietly. That's right. Why would she? She's going to kick Kiara's ass in 7 seconds, and she's not going out quietly. Which brings us, sadly, I'm literally crushed to say this, to our last question, and it is this. What is food to Dr. Sarina Kajani in one word?
Love.
Oh man, too quick and yet too good. God damn it. See, the people that answer it that quickly, I don't know, man. Well, I shouldn't say that, because some people hem and haw, and then it's this beautiful, genuine response. When it's that loaded, you just know. And looking at the way that you treat food and you treat people via food, I don't think any other answer would fit for you. No, that's incredible. Well, Dr. Sarina Kajani, can I just call you Sarina?
Yes, of course. No, Dr. Sarina.
Sarina, you are literally one of my all-time faves, both on the Tri-Channel, and now I can say on the Coarse Grind podcast, and that means the world to me. It means the world to me, you taking your time to be here with us. Folks, you want to check this human being out. So much amazing shit going on with Sarina. You've got the Tri-Channel on YouTube, which they just did a Thanksgiving special, which was crazy, apparently. I did not. I've got 3 kids, and I've got a holiday schedule, and apparently a binge drinking problem over holidays. But anyway, we'll sidestep that.
Who doesn't have a binge drinking problem over holidays?
Precisely. If the holidays is this COVID thing. So anyway,
exactly.
We've got her Patreon. Again, check her out, Sarina Kajani. All the recipes you're going to want to begin to introduce a little bit of healthier way to live. The food is medicine. Food is healing. This is going to be the way you want to do it. You don't want to just do it through, supplements and pills. Do it through the food that you put in your body every day, and you're going to be a better person for it. She is all over the Instagram, Sarina Kajani, as well as the Twitter at the very same. Anything that I missed, ma'am?
No, just thank you so much for the opportunity to actually be on this podcast and for actually being so kind and warm. And yeah, I hope your fans enjoy this episode, especially with the accolade of being the 150th. That
is. I save it only for the best, and you truly are the best, and I will be isolating the shit out of that clip and playing it back over and over again for myself whenever I'm having a down day. So, Dr. Sarina Kajani, again, thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been episode number 150 of the Coarse Grind Podcast. Again with me this evening from the Tri-Channel, from All Things Fiber, Patreon, Instagram, Twitter, Dr. Sarina Kajani. Our producer, as always, has been the lovely, voluptuous Johnny Leland Robinson, a.k.a. the Reverend Johnny Lamoria. Be sure to check out a new podcast coming out from him very soon, which might include yours truly, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Next episode will be number 151, and I'll be honest, who knows? I just had Sarina Kajani from Try on my show, so I'm not too worried about it. Stay tuned. Are you passing through central Pennsylvania and looking for one of the best dining experiences and craft brew menus around? Look no further. Turkey Hill Brewing Company and 991 Central Road in Bloomsburg, PA has everything you could ask for and then some. Service, food, beer together. Unbelievable. Be sure to check them out. Call them today for reservations. 570-387-8422. Call today. The mic is hot. The mic is yours. Go nuts.
So wait, don't we do that like mic check, mic check?
Mic check, mic check. 1, 2.
Yeah. I swear I've done this before. This is Dr. Sarina Kajani, and you're listening to the Coarse Grind Podcast with the fabulous Shawn. Oh my God, I'm such a dick. Gonna have to do it again. Sorry.
My mom almost called me Shane. That's good, though. That's good. All right.
You know when you hear when you see the SHA in your head, and I'm like, oh yeah, Shawn, and then no.
It's better than the SHI. But yeah. All right,
gosh.
Here we go.
All right, we go. Take 2.
Take 2.
Okay. This is Dr. Sarina Kajani from the Tri-Channel, and you're listening to the Coarse Grind Podcast with your host, Shawn Rosler.